river attended my way when sorrows like sea billows roll. Whatever, my Lord, thou hast taught me to say, it is well with my soul. It is well with my soul. It is well. It is well with my soul. And Lord, haste the day when my faith shall be sight. The clouds be rolled back as a scroll. The trump shall resound, and the Lord shall descend. Even so, it is well with my soul. It is well with my soul. It is well with my soul. It is well with my soul.
Hello, happy Sabbath. I hope we're all doing well, and I trust we're having an awesome Sabbath. So I welcome you to the episode 7. Episode 7. My goodness, this is 7, right? Episode 7 of Story of Unfulfilled Dreams. And today, our title, like we might have seen on the flyers, is called Delayed Answers. I'm sure we all have had several things that we have prayed and we have hoped for, and hoped things were going to turn out the way we did, the way we hoped. But somehow at times the prayers seem delayed, they seem unanswered, and at times we get so tired and we even shelve them and decide, it's okay, I'm not going to pray about them. But today we're going to be talking about delayed prayers, delayed answers. So today our text of consideration is going to be coming from Genesis. I have 4 chapters, but I'm just going to pick 4 verses. Genesis chapter 37, verse 28 is the first verse. Verse 28 says, then there passed by Midianites, mentioned men, and they drew and lifted up Joseph out of the pit and sold Joseph to the Ishmaelites for 20 pieces of silver. And they brought Joseph into Egypt. Verse 36 says, and the Midianites sold him into Egypt unto Potiphar, an officer of Pharaoh's and captain of his guard. And I'm sure someone may be saying, maybe someone thinks now I love Joseph so much. I'm not sure how many times I wish I have talked about him so far, but I realized that there are so many aspects of his life that we can learn from. So here is Joseph being sent away to a foreign land, and as he's sent away to a foreign land, he's parted with his family, and he lives alone. And day in, day out, his wish is to be with his parents, to be back with his family, and he hopes to be back with his family. Let's go to Genesis chapter 40, verse 15. Genesis chapter 40, verse 15 then says, For indeed I was stolen away out of the land of the Hebrews, and here also have I done nothing that they should put me in the dungeon. This is Joseph talking in the prison. He's saying, I was stolen from my own house, but his wish was to be what? Was to be together with his family. And at last, sadly, this prayer seems to be not answered in the way that he wished. So that in Genesis chapter 50, verse 25, he then says, and Joseph took an oath of the children of Israel, saying, God will surely visit you, and they shall carry out my bonds from hence. So this is a point, he reaches a point where he accepts, it's okay, I'm not going to be back to my father's house. At least they managed to unite at some point and be together. But his wish of being together with his parents back in Canaan as his home, where he grew up, was not fulfilled. So that is, he was like, at least carry my bonds, at least, even though I can't be there physically, I can't be there where I think I belong. So today we're going to be talking about something that is of similar note, talking about the answers that may seem delayed, where we hope we all want to be together with family the whole time, but sometimes we may fail and things may not go as we plan. But God always is our best interest at heart. So today I'm excited as always. I'm always excited. I have a new guest. Yes, I have a guest, Nyasha Mutangadura, all the way from the United States. So welcome, Nyasha, to our program. Welcome to the show, A Story of Unfulfilled Dreams.
Hi, Ursula. Thank you very much for having me here.
Thank you so much for accepting to be here. So as we kickstart our show, we'd like to know, some people may know you, some may not. Who is Nyasha Mutangadura? Who is Nyasha Mutangadura?
Okay. My name is Nyasha Prudence Chiangwa, right? Yeah. And most people who know me, like from when I was growing up, they know me as Nyasha Mdokwani, right? And the name Nyasha Mutangadura is my husband's last name, right? Can you hear me well?
Yes, I can.
Okay.
Decrease the volume a bit.
All right. So my husband's name is last name is Mutangadura, so that's where Nyasha Mutangadura comes from. So I was born in '93 in Gokwe, and part of my childhood was in Chitungwiza, and then we moved to Marimba Park, which is where, like, I was grade 5, right? Grade 5 thereabout, we moved to Chitungwiza, and then that's 2003, and then primary school, high school, and then I went to college, UZ, for 2 years, and then 2015 I came here, and I've been here for about 6 years now, and I'm an only child, and yeah, that's pretty much me. That's me. That's Nyasha Mutangadura.
Thank you very much. Okay, nice knowing you. I only knew of Nyasha Chiangwa. I didn't know the other surname, but yeah. So when I first told you about this show, when you first heard about this show, before agreeing to be part of the show, what came to mind? What comes to mind when you hear the title, A Story of Unfulfilled Dreams?
The thing that comes to mind for me is the details of life, you know? You grow up, you're born, and then when you start realizing that I'm a person, you start dreaming, right? And then you start having these dreams that you have in your mind. You start having these thoughts of what you want to be, where you hope to be, and you have, a timeline. You finish grade 7 when you're about 12, 13, or you start from 1 at 13. You hope to do your O-levels, pass, go, get good grades, and then get many subjects, I don't know, 10, 15 subjects, depending. And then you want to do A-level, you want to do a great combination, you want to get 15 points, you want to go to UZ, you want to become a doctor, an engineer, all those things. So, yeah. So when you have unfulfilled dreams, it's like, not everything happens according to the plan that you have, Yeah, things happen. Life happens, and you start wondering, how am I going to do this? Because I expected that by this time, right? But it hasn't happened. So what's going to go on? So that's what I think of when I hear A Story of Unfulfilled Dreams.
Is it something that you can relate to, or it's just a title?
Yeah, it is something that I can relate to. When actually you told me that I'll be on the show and stuff, I was really thinking about what I'm going to say and which story I'm going to pick, because I have quite a number of stories where things did not go as I had planned, when I'm sitting there in my little room, saying, Mari, this is what I want. If you're up to me, I don't know, maybe I'll be having siblings or something like that, because it's something that I wanted, but it's something that didn't happen. So it's one of those that you yeah, I can relate to, and I have quite some stories. Really, I do.
Awesome. That's why you are on this show. So let me take you back to as a young girl, when you were young and full of energy. As a young girl, what did you envision yourself? What did you see yourself becoming? Yeah.
As a young girl, I thought I was going to be a doctor one day. Really, I thought I was going to be a doctor like you. I thought I was going to go to use it, do a degree in medicine. That's what I thought as a young girl. And one thing that I can tell you is I never thought I'll be in America. I don't really think about it. It's not something that will be like, oh, what, my dream is to be in America, and I will, have dreams about it or envision it that way. No, I never did. And I don't know. Yeah, pretty much that's so with what has happened over the years, right? So some of the dreams that I've had, they've been streamlined. You understand? Because you get a realization, this is not going to be realistic. This is not going to happen. Like becoming a doctor, you need to do mathematics, you need to be good at it. I was okay. I wasn't good. So, doing the combination at A level, for you to do maths, bio, and chemistry, that never happened for me. So you'd be like, oh, okay, so I cannot be a doctor anyway. So yeah.
Okay. Also, I'm assuming most people, I guess, when we're growing up, a lot of people wanted to be doctors, or maybe it's to do with the exposure. You go to the hospital, you see the doctor in a nice clean white shirt, white coat, you're like, I think I want to be like that. I guess it's to do with the exposure. So now, as all those dreams, the wishes that you had, have they been fulfilled in the order that you wanted them to be? Or they're still in the all right, of course if they mentioned that you're not a doctor. But I just want you to tell us in summary, if not, how has it been and what have been the impediments to you being where you thought you were going to be?
Okay. So the first thing that the main thing that I'm going to talk about is, I said I never thought I was going to be in America ever. So there are reasons to that. It's because, okay, when my dad left to come to the United States, right? Back in 2000. And then he tried for us to come, we having us, have papers and things like that. I remember there was a time we'd go for interviews and stuff like that and no visas, nothing happening, and yeah, we'll pray about it. I remember it was almost like an everyday prayer request whenever we had family worship. Every day we're praying that may the Lord open ways so that, mom and I can join dad here in the States. So, time went by. So from 2000 and I came here 2015. So that's 15 years, right? So time went by and then you lose hope and then you get hopeful again, when you call for another interview. And then they tell you, oh no, we're not going to grant you a visa because of ABC. And then you lose hope. And then you start thinking, should I try again? Because this costs money, So what happened is that when I was in Form 3, right? Yeah, beginning of Form 3, it was January, right? 2008. I was granted a visa, right? To come to the United States. But then the problem was I didn't have a passport. My passport had expired and there were issues with that. So they drafted a document for me to use to travel, right? And when they drafted that document, I went with it to the airport, right? And then I checked in my luggage, things were processed and stuff like that. And then, so when you check in your luggage, they look at your documents, right? And then you move on to this other place, to this other counter where they check your document, verify your documents again, and then you proceed. So on the second counter part, that's where we had problems. The person said, this is not a passport. And I said, no, it's not a passport, And then they say that you can't travel without a passport because they're going to want to deport you, right? The passport is what you need to travel. But then the American embassy had fixed me a traveling document that it was okay for me to go to the United States and they were not going to deport me. I had like that surety because they are the people who drafted it at the embassy, right? And there was talk back and forth between my mom and the people and my uncle and the people. And then, it's like, no, you can't do this, you can't go. And then even the manager, the person who is responsible for these things, came down. He was called. He came down from his offices. He's like, oh, this is fine, it's not usual, but we see these things sometimes. Don't worry, she'll be fine. You can go, what not what. And the man who was who had said that you can't go, he was very adamant, very, very adamant, right? Saying you're not gonna go, you can't go, this, that, and the other thing. So then I think that is the time when, so I didn't go to the States, right? So we had gone there. I remember distinctly, we had gone, my flight was supposed to be sometime around 1 a.m. or something like that. So we had gone there around 11 p.m. We actually had, a farewell party and everything like that. We invited people. We were happy. Nyasha is going to be with dad and then she'll come back later and stuff. And yeah, we came back home around about 3-4 a.m. And that was it. Like, that's when I think my hopes of going to the United States were thoroughly crushed, because what was going to happen from now on? I almost had it, so near, but yet so far. I almost went, but I never went. So yeah, that happened. And you try to get hope. But I remember after that time, I really didn't pray about it. I made a conscious decision. I think I was around lower 6, about 17 years. I made a conscious decision. And I said, I'm not going to pray about this because this is not going to happen. And in my mind, I had this thought that after I'm 18 years of age, I'm not going to go to the United States because I'll be considered an adult. And, adults, I don't know if they can go if you don't get a scholarship. I didn't really understand the immigration system. But after 18, I thought, what, they're not going to tell me to go because the chance was when I was a child, So when you apply, you want your children to come. So before 18, you're considered a child. After 18, you're not a child anymore. Well, so I thought, but things went otherwise. So yeah.
Wow. Interesting. So I'm thinking, like you said on your intro that you're the only child, and you grew up with your parents, and it's always nice, especially when they're all alive. We all wish to be together in one house together with the parents. And here there's all those avenues. Somehow you think you're about to go and you don't go. You're about to go and you go to go. I was about to ask you, but I think you then said it here. I was about to ask you the longest time you've prayed for something and hoped for something to happen. But I think you've kind of mentioned it, right? Focusing on the delays, as long as you had to wait for that prayer to be answered. So what lessons did you learn in this process? Like you said, you thought you were going to go there when you were a child, and then it failed, but then suddenly God then opened a way later, even after when you were 18, for you to be finally together with your family, together with your dad. So what lessons, or maybe you get to how then God got to a point where He then answered the prayer, and He then answered it at the end after the 15 years we talked about. So what are the lessons that you've learned from this setbacks? And maybe you also get to explain how you then got to a place where finally the prayer was answered. Last time you had shelved the prayer request, like, I'm not praying for this anymore. I'm not my child.
Yeah, okay, let me just say this. The decision to not pray about it, it was not a decision of faith. When you say, what, God knows I need this and I'm not going to, pray about this because I know He's working on it. It wasn't that kind of decision. It was one of those, I am frustrated. I have prayed. I'm done. This is it. In Anchad, I'm just going to. So this is how I got to the point of that frustration. Well, primary school was fine. I never really kind of noticed like there's anything different about my family, But when I was in high school, that's when, you grow up and start noticing things. So I was like, oh, for most families, their mom and dad are together, right? And you, the children, in the same house and stuff like that. You see your mom, you see your dad, like almost on a daily basis, right? But for me, it's like I really wanted to be with my dad. My dad is in the United States. I'm staying with my mom and stuff. There was communication, but it's like we are not in the same geographical area, right? So I always thought, what does that look like? Because my dad left around, I was about 5 or 6 years of age. And I didn't have memories that I could, conjure up in my mind and say, when dad was around, this happened and things like that. I didn't have those memories. I didn't remember many things, I remember my 4th birthday party. That's the time I really remember, my father, when I was 4 years of age, and he threw this big party for me. And that, like, those are the memories that I had of him before I came to the United States. So it's one of those, like, I would think, what does that look like, staying with my dad? What does that look like? So my dad came back to visit us when I was in Form 1, 2006. And then he stayed for like 3 weeks to a month. And I got a glimpse, right? I got a glimpse of what it can be like to stay with my dad. And I knew I wanted that. That is what I wanted, So after that, after I was 16, well, after I was 18, I just got to a point where I had to accept, that this is not going to happen. This is what my family looks like. Mom is here, dad is here, he visits and stuff like that. We talk, and that's fine. I knew it's not what I really wanted, but it's something that I had to accept. So what did I learn from these setbacks? The most important thing that I learned is this: God answers prayers. He really does. And I remember, I think sometime last year, I was walking and I was thinking about, what if I had come here when I was in Form 3? What if I had come here, because Form 3, I was what? I was 14, right? Yeah, I was 14 when I was in Form 3 because I went to school grade 1, I was 5. So what if I had come here when I was in Form 3? What was my life going to be like? And I realized I wouldn't have had it any other way. I want my life the way it has been. Because if I were in Form 3 and I'd come here, outside of my family, the people who mean the most to me, like the friends that I've had over the times, I wouldn't have met them. I wouldn't have met you, Ursula. I wouldn't have known about you because we met at UZ. You understand what I'm saying? All right. I wouldn't have met the people that, when I need somebody to pray for me or pray with me, I wouldn't have had, that person to talk to. I'm like, hey, Yolanda, I'm going through something, pray for me. I wouldn't have had the experience of Zunde, because Zunde is something that is unique. And I don't know how to explain it, but you just need to be there. Although it didn't last, like for me, Zunde, most people have 4 years. I had 2 years, but in those 2 years, I attended each and every Zunde that I could, So I wouldn't have had that. So the lessons that I've learned is this. Sometimes we ask God for something, but he is working, like what Yolanda always says. She says that God is always working for the perfection for our character. Always. So in this, God just taught me to be patient. And God has taught me that, there are valuable lessons that I needed. I'm just thinking a 14-year-old me coming to this big land of America when, everything goes. I don't know what my morality would be. I don't know if I would have had a compass that anchors, and like a value or a set of principles that I would live by that I have now. I don't know if I would have had that, and it scares me a little bit because it's like all the things that I know right now, why this is wrong, why this is right, why you should live your life this way. I learned to use it, I learned at home, of course, but use it is like it helps you, settle in and sink into those lessons, and then make your own personal decisions that this is how I am going to live my life, and then when you seem to forget, You have people always to remind you because you have like minds, So all these things I have learned from this setback. And the other thing that I've learned is this. Say I'm praying for something and it's taking time to happen. I always think of the time that, God answered the prayer of us coming to the United States. I always think of that time, and it takes me through because it's like the biggest testimony that I have, because it happened when I never expected it to happen. So it takes me through other things that, I thinking of, when things go hard, they get challenging and stuff like that. It takes me through that because it's a constant reminder that God answers prayers, not always when we want, but always for our greatest good.
Amen. So Charity Runes gave a shout out. She says, Dr. Nyasha, LOL. And she says, Amen. God answers prayer. And then Lawrence into the said happy Sabbath to you. Thank you, Lawrence, for tuning in. So yeah. So you've learned this lesson, like you're saying, you learned God answers prayers, you got to form this valuable relationship that you can't even trade for anything, So what would you say kept you grounded? I know you mentioned that you got to a point where like, I'm done. I don't know what would you say motivated during this time as you're seeing other people growing with their fathers and you're hoping that you'll be reunited with your father one day and it looks like it's not happening. So what kept you going, even past the times that you just doubt and be like, I'm done? What would you say kept you grounded? What gave you the consolation? Are the texts, the hymns, or people? What encouraged you to say it's okay, you'll be fine?
Okay, what encouraged me to say it's gonna be fine? Many things encouraged me, honestly, because, well, I thank God for my family. We'd always pray about these things, and each time when I felt like the world was on my shoulders, I'll go to my grandmother, and I remember we'd sing together. I'm about to cry. I don't know why, but I remember we'd sing together with Gogo, and sorry. And I know, like, one of my aunts, Mama Tino, and Mama and I, we'll pray about these things, we'll talk. And yeah, that gave me hope. It really did. Sorry. It gave me hope. And the other thing that helped me a lot was, this church is a marvelous church. We have camps. We have, activities that we do. You become a pathfinder. You go to these camps, camporees, fairs, and stuff like that. Camp meeting and everything. You hear powerful, powerful testimonies. And by hearing people sharing their testimonies, it helps you. It makes you realize that God still answers prayers. So it gives you that motivation. If these people's prayers can be answered, then God still is in the business of answering prayers. And the other thing is this: you keep busy. You keep busy so you don't focus on the things that you don't have. And the most important thing that I think is this: many times when you're praying for something big, and the answer hasn't come yet, we are tempted to focus on that, and then we don't focus on the blessings that God is giving us, though we are not necessarily asking for them. So what I've noted when I reflect back is there are these little blessings. I cannot say little blessings, I'm sorry. But these blessings, these tokens of affection from God that he gives you during the journey, just to make you know that he is there. He might not have answered this big thing, but he is there. I remember the things that will keep me going. It's like, you pray for your O-level results, right? I wrote 10 subjects. I got all 10 subjects. You pray for that, you get that. You go to a school. Well, for me, I went to Southeastern College for lower 6. I didn't go back to Eaglesville. I was at Eaglesville from 1 to Form 4. And then lower 6, I went to Southeastern College. And then I remember the year that I was in lower 6 at Southeastern College. It's like I would get sick a lot. I don't know why, but I just would, to the point that it all culminated in me getting malaria. And then God healed me from malaria. And then I came to Hillbright. I was transferred because I had malaria. I came to Hillbright, and then you're asking, for accommodation because you've lost school time, in A level, you've lost school time. So you want accommodations, and schools don't really give accommodations, but I got an accommodation, right? And then I got to be taught by one of the women that I admire so much, Mrs. Chifamba, the wife to Pastor Chifamba. She was one of my teachers, and she was hired by the school for me. It's not something that you really think about, like, oh, wow, this is great. But when you think about it in retrospect, it is so great. So you keep busy. That's what motivates you. God always gives you answers, all the other prayers that you are having, and he those are his tokens of affection that he gives you to make you, to keep you going. And being part of the Seventh-day Adventist Church, I'm really, really grateful for the social life that we have, though we don't go partying or anything, but the camps, the Pathfinder fairs, the Zundes, everything that you have, it helps you not to focus on the things that you don't have and focus on the things that you do have and enjoy that time. And also talking like my family, talking to my grandmother especially, and my aunts and my mom, and it was kept me going. And my uncles, I have great uncles. I remember there's a time, one of my uncle's best friends, he's now in the UK. He came from the UK, and then he took me out for lunch just to talk. He's like, oh, I'm back in Mzuguru. Let's go for lunch. And then we went for lunch, and we spoke about many different things. We spoke about, family, how I was feeling and things like that. So all those things, I was surrounded with people who were prayerful, and also people who genuinely cared for my for my well-being, and that really helped me go on. Yeah.
Wow. Thank you so much. Can I say some of those little tokens of appreciation
realize that they are there, and okay. So yeah. So, and also Janakada Murray says amen.
Can you hear me? All right. Sorry for that. So yeah, thank you so much for this. I've also been learning a lot. At times it's easy to focus on what you don't have and be throwing pity parties for yourself. I need this, I don't have this, other people have this, and I can't have this, and you're just thinking, I'm missing out on so much. But when you look around, you realize that there's some of those little token of appreciation that God gives us along the way. And they all definitely show us that God is definitely there for us the whole time. So, back to our story, you're talking about delayed answers, like you're saying. You've given up hope. Am I ever going to be united with my father again and stuff like that? And, you want to have a complete family, like you're saying. There may be someone who also has been, I'm sure most of us, I personally have many prayers that I've shared and decided I'm not going to pray about this. I don't know if ever I'll get the strength. It's okay. So what would you tell someone who's been praying for ages and feel like God might have forgotten them? I my friends, I have some friends who you'll try and be like, no, but he's like, no, it's like he's working in the lives of other people, but I can't see him in mine. It's like he just does not care about me. You get tired of clapping hands for other people, and it's like he's not doing anything for you. So what would you tell someone who's going through something like that, who's at the verge of just throwing in the towel?
What I'll tell somebody is this. When God works in your life, right, it's always for your good. It really is. And I think I read someone's thoughts who was saying that sometimes when the Israelites, would ask God why, he would always reflect his character, So most times when you ask God, why are you not doing this for me? I need this, I need this. It's like we seem to have forgotten who God is to us, So the why part will be answered in who God is to us. I'm not saying Kuti, things don't get painful. You'll be crying. The pain is real. you know, and there are these doubts and stuff, you know. But one thing that I can say is Psalm 23, that psalm from verse 1 to verse 6. And we think about it and we meditate upon that psalm. It gives us valuable lessons. And to think that psalm was written by David while he was running away from Saul, the context in which he wrote that psalm, he was running for his life. And then he thinks, you know what? The Lord is my shepherd. I shall not want. Like, he's sleeping in a cave with people watching over him, in a cave, not in his house, you know? And then he says, the Lord is my shepherd. I shall not want. So it almost does not make sense, because, I mean, if you say I shall not want, you know, it means you're not going to like anything. So you're thinking of a person who's in a castle, who has got maids and servants waiting on them, and, you know, they have all these things. They, you know, they like nothing. They can choose. But David at this time, he was in a cave, running for his life. And he says, the Lord is my shepherd. I will not lack anything. So when I think the most important thing is to meditate upon God's word and count your blessings. See what God has done for you. And if it helps, go through what do you call it? Go through people's testimonies, you know. And one of the greatest ways to go through people's testimonies, if you can't find any in the Bible, which I think there are plenty, go through the stories of people who wrote certain hymns, you know, like It Is Well. You know, how was this hymn written? Or the guy who wrote hymn 100, when what does it say? I'm forgetting what it is.
What a friend we have in Jesus.
Exactly. What a friend we have in Jesus. Or read the story of the lady who wrote this hymn, Just As I Am. You know, and you realize that in as much as things don't seem to go your way or the way that you want it, God is working for the greatest good for you. Even if you cannot understand it, just believe that he is. Why? Because God is a good God. He really is. And he cares for his people, you know. And there are so many promises that we have in the Bible that make us know that. So you rest in his promises, and for sure he will comfort you. He might not give you the answer that you want there and there, but he will comfort you and he'll give you strength to take you through.
Yeah, sure. Thank you so much. And I think I agree with you that many times it's easy to focus on what you don't have, but once you learn to have an attitude of gratitude. I personally kept a gratitude jar where at the end of the day I write down, what am I grateful for today? What has God done for me today that I'm grateful for? And you know, it's always amazing when at the end of the year or after a month, you just go through those tiny little papers you write, me like, oh my goodness, God did this for me. Oh my goodness, God did this for me. You know, you're like, okay, so why am I quick to complain and to think that I don't have this, I don't have that? You know, but you realize that God is doing so much for us. And, you know, as we foster that attitude of gratitude, you realize you have so much to be grateful for. And the things that we are waiting for, like you're talking about waiting for an answer that you think it doesn't come easily. I've learned that as you wait, you don't need to wait you don't just need to wait idly, but you wait as waiters. What do waiters do? They wait as they serve. So as they are waiting upon people, they are waiting as they are serving. So in that way, you don't feel that I'm waiting for and it's not happening. You divert your focus, you know, and you distract yourself. So thank you so much, Nyasha, for sharing your story, and I appreciate your courage to come and share with us your personalized experience as you're waiting for God to come through for you in this particular in this particular instance. So what would be your parting words to the audience? In line with this, we're talking about delayed prayers, delayed answers. Someone is about to throw in the towel, someone who's about to give up. What would be your parting words to the audience?
Okay. Before I go to the parting words, allow me to explain how it is that we came to America. I forgot to share that.
Oh yeah, you left that part here. I'm like, you know what?
Yeah. So I'm just thinking about it now. Okay, so what happened is this 2015, I was part 2, right, at UZ. And then this particular, so my dad had come to visit us, and then this particular Wednesday, he called me, right? I wasn't staying at home. I was staying off campus. So he called me and he said, where's your passport? I'm like, it's at home, at this place. He's like, okay, I'm going to the embassy with your passport. They want it. And then I got confused. I'm like, why do they want my passport? And then he got the passport on Thursday. He went and then he called me. I remember the time. It was 3:42 p.m. I was waiting to go for choir. It was on a Thursday. I was waiting to go for choir. Choir practice was 4 to 5 p.m., right? I was waiting. And then he called me 3:42 p.m. He's like, hi, Wawana visa. I was like, what? And then he's like, yeah, Wawana visa. I'm like, how? He's like, and then I airtime. And then he hung up. I'm like, what just happened? And then I called my mom. I said, Mom, Dad called me, said I got a visa. And then Mom was like, yeah, he called me too. He said, we have visas. I'm like, I don't believe this. Okay, I'm coming home per weekend, right? And then she said, don't know. Then she texted me later, no need to come home. And then she showed me the picture of the passport. I actually had a visa to go to the United States. And at that time, we were preparing to go for Easter camp at UZ. Right. So in my mind, I was like, oh, okay. So this is like happening too quickly for me. How does this happen? And then in my mind, I was like, you know what? I'm going to stay and go for Easter camp. And then after Easter camp, I will go, or maybe after this semester, to finish things well. And then after that, they said, oh, you can't we'll go for Easter camp. You have to go to the United States right now. I was like, I don't want to go. I want to go. So it's like, it happened so suddenly, so quickly, and I didn't understand it. I couldn't wrap my head around it. And then all of a sudden,
Wow.
I wanted to go. And then I just left, and it was hard to just leave because this is a life that
Just like that.
I'd come to peace with the fact that I'm not going to go to the States. I had accepted that as my reality, and I was looking forward to, doing my chemistry degree, finishing it, and, do something else after that. But now it's like, oh, all of a sudden I'm now in the States, 2015. And yeah, new beginnings and stuff. That's how that happened. So we came here on on the 25th of March. That's when we came. That's when we landed here, and 2015. And I started a new life, and yeah. That's how that happened.
Wow. The uncertainty of life. Definitely, Mama says, amen. Gratitude gives us strength to stand while we're waiting. Thank you, Daphne. So, yeah, at times God has a way of working out things that we just don't get, all the time that you say you thought you have it all, you have whatever it is that makes you eligible for this, and nothing was happening. And when you just relax, you just like, it's okay, whatever it is. And that's when he just works whatever good. And like you said, at the end of the day, he's a good God, and he is our good. He was our good. He is our good at heart. So how did you feel? Like finally, this just happened, and you hadn't planned it. How did you respond to the new reality? Now that whatever you're praying for 15 years and you accepted, God just is not regarding this prayer, or maybe it's not his wish. Maybe it's actually a no, and still not to say yes. So how did you accept the new reality?
I was confused at first. I was happy, but it's like I'm now living this life that I've known, And then at that time, I was working. I wasn't working, but I was part of like the UZ committee thing, and then like I was doing the food thing, and I was really passionate about it. I really felt strongly about my role in that capacity. And I was thinking, who's going to do this now? I really felt strongly about it. Who's going to do this? What's going to happen? What about the food? Who's going to serve people? I was supposed to do this. Why now? And then, and then after that, I started thinking about my degree, my chemistry degree, what. How am I going to finish school and stuff like that? So it was like I was happy, but then all these things of life, you have to get on with life. You're going to school, you have to continue with school. How are you going to do that? And then so it was a whole lot of trying to settle into the new reality and stuff. And during that time, things were not as smooth as I would have wanted it to be. But during that time, that's when God gave me a very special someone who's now my husband. And then he helped me there, but coming back to the point when I was saying that if I hadn't gone to use it, there are many people in my life that I wouldn't have met. I wouldn't have met my husband because I met him there. I knew about him there. Wow. So it's one of that some of these things that we need to go through, it is for our own greatest good, But then anyway, 2015, settling down and everything like that, Daniel really helped me with it. He would help me, would pray about it and stuff like that. He'll pray for me, to settle down and things like that. And then because when I wanted to go back to school, I went back to school, I applied. They took their sweet time to reply. And then when they were evaluating my degree, they say that I couldn't continue doing chemistry because I didn't finish, the degree, right? So you can't just transplant a degree from Africa, Zimbabwe, and come with it in the United States and then they will accept it. You can't do that. But had I finished my chemistry degree, probably I was just going to apply for a master's or something. So I had to start all over again. 2016, I had to start a new degree. And yeah, so it was one of those, okay, I'm happy, I'm here. But then in terms of my progress in life, I am back at square one. I'm like part one again, 2016, 1-1, start a new thing. And I finished this August. So it's been good, but yeah.
Yeah, well, I think at the end of the day, God says if we could see the end from the beginning, like He does, definitely we wouldn't have chosen it the other way around. But I'm glad and I'm grateful. I'm sure you're actually grateful also. You've seen that this is just the Lord at play, He knows what is best for us. And yeah, so thank you so much for sharing your story. It's quite encouraging. You think you have it all figured out, but God has a totally different plan. And, and still, we don't want to start over again as humans. We want our stuff just go as we hope and whatever. I guess that's why the show is about. It's about things that we think we have it all figured out, and God's like, no, not necessarily like that. But still, at the end of the day, He has our good at heart. So it takes me back to the question I asked before. What would be your parting words now? Now that we now have the full story, what would be your parting words now to someone who may be struggling and you think, what good can come out of this? You've seen the light at the end when you didn't know what this whole thing was about. What would you conclude?
My parting words is this: stand strong in the Lord. Encourage yourself in God. Because He is there and He answers our prayer. He's actually closer than we think. He really is. And He cares for us. And I just want to read Proverbs 13, verse 12. It says, hope deferred makes the heart sick. But when the desire comes, it is a tree of life. So when you're waiting, it's not fun to wait. But it's for our own perfection of character. So that when somebody who's going through something, when God has answered your prayer, when you have a testimony, when somebody who is going through something similar to you, they can be encouraged too. Because we have been put on this earth, not only to glorify God, but to serve one another, to serve mankind. So in all that we do, we should always be thinking about the grand picture, the big picture. What does God want to achieve through me? So some of the things that we're going through, it's for the perfection of our own character. It's to strengthen one another, and it's to make us have this unwavering faith in God. Because if God saw me through this, He will definitely see me through this part of life.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah, wow, thank you so much. Yeah, and we, like you're saying, if you're seeing me through West, you can see me through any bit of life. There you are, you're thinking the food committee won't function without me, and we've been fed with or without you. We've been fed. Life goes on at the end of the day. So thank you so much for sharing for sharing with us. So as we conclude, I'm going to read a quote from the Anthem of Canterbury. It's a quote that says, God does not delay our prayers because he has no mind to give, but that by enlarging our desires, he may give us the more largely. So as God sometimes delays to answer our prayers, we may think he doesn't hear what we think, what we are saying, he doesn't hear what we want, but he says actually he may actually give us more largely, abundantly, you know, more than actually what we think, more than what we think is best for us. So yeah, this marks the end of our show today, and I hope you learned so much from the experience that Nyasha had to go through, and in the end, he had to see the Lord's goodness. So as always, stay safe and thank you. God bless you.
Thank you. God bless.
When peace like a river attended my way, when sorrows like sea billows roll, whatever, my Lord, thou hast taught me to say, it is well with my soul, it is well with my soul.